So everybody, I am your host, Kelly Frankenberg, co-director of Art to Change the World, and I'm going to call it season 3, episode 9 of Cabin Fever Reliever, our online sessions of lots of fun topics and lots of fun things. And this one is called Critical Thinking and Creative Writing with me and Barbara. Um, all right, so let's get to it. What I wanted to do was talk about critical thinking a little bit. What is it? And what I was teaching when I was teaching critical thinking, I told my students, if you don't remember anything I say, please just remember this one thing, and it's to keep an open mind. So to me, critical thinking is keeping your mind as open as possible. And why is this important? So let me give you an example. So if you lost your wallet, if your wallet all of a sudden wasn't there, what people like to say is, who stole my wallet? Who stole my wallet? And then where that can lead is not the best, because that's the wrong question you need to be asking yourself at that moment. The actual correct question is, what happened to my wallet? Okay, because sometimes the wallet falls behind the dresser. But when we assume that someone has stolen it, we're going to go, hey, did this person steal my wallet? What happened? And we get all upset, right? And so a real world example is what happened to me when I was in Norway. I was at a hotel and I had these pajamas, and all of a sudden one day they were just gone. And I was staying in a room with two friends, and they had pushed the beds together, and but I couldn't find my pajamas anywhere. Well, what are the options? The maid stole them, right? So I thought the maid stole my pajamas. Why would the maid steal my pajamas? But that was the only explanation I could come up with. But what really happened was they fell between the beds, and they were under the floor, under the beds. And so the correct question was, what happened to my pajamas? And now this may seem silly, but this is important, especially when you're dealing with like a murder. A detective can't just assume, oh, this is the bad guy, is the husband killed the wife, right? He has to ask himself, what happened, right? Not who killed this person, what happened here, right? And so they can't assume things. And the more open of a mind you have, the more you're going to find that correct answer, right? You're not going to assume and close your mind off to things just with stereotypes. So that's one thing I like to talk about. Another thing I like to talk about is like a paradigm shift. So when you shift your thinking, things really change, especially your assumptions, right? Because we don't want to be a fool and assume something. So one thing that I like is a pretty much a popular example is if you're riding a subway and there's a man with 4 kids, and he's just distracted and not paying attention to what his kids are doing, and they're jumping all over the place and they're loud and they're horrible, and you're like getting really irritated, and you're thinking, why can't this guy just tell his kids to shut up? Like, what, he can't even handle them. What's going on? And then later you find out that his wife just died at the hospital and they're going home. And he doesn't even know how to tell his kids what happened. And he's just letting them be how they are. Now, doesn't that totally change your mind on how you look at this person and what they're doing in that moment? And so that's called a shift. And so has I want to know if anybody else had something like that happen to them where they're just like, whoa, I thought this about something, but it was really this, and it had me change my mind. Has anyone ever experienced that?
Kelly, it reminds me of one of the aspects of Robert Greenleaf's servant leadership model, which is uh, people being around a circle and looking toward the center of the circle where the problem or the question is, and being able to trade places with a person on the opposite side of the circle. So
Yes.
looking from a different point of view. And most of us don't take time to do that, but it's a really simple thing.
Right. And that goes into my next idea of when you open your mind on being human, it really helps you to see other people and not get irritated. For example, if somebody cuts you off on the road, you can just be so angry and mad at that person. But if you can say, have I ever done that? And the answer is yes, then you kind of give that person a break. Okay, well, they're probably in a hurry and they're doing their thing. And then it changes your mind on your emotions. right? You're not as mad at that person anymore. You can ask for horrible mistakes, but I mean, if you make them yourself, you're human. And so let's not judge other people, right? Um, Another thing I want to mention just briefly, because there's a whole thing on cultural awareness. And part of critical thinking is cultural awareness. And cultural awareness has like eight or nine stages, depending on which chart you're looking at. But it's essentially like for stage one of cultural awareness it's like if somebody is living in a remote village and they don't really know other people, but they know there is other people, they assume that all those other people think just like they do. Stage two is when they're aware of other people and they see that they think differently, but they think those people should think like them. And you see it goes on this chart eventually to stage eight, where you're aware of other cultures, you respect other cultures, and you start pulling in some of those other cultures into your way of living. And so it's just a really interesting spectrum because everybody fits in one of those categories on Earth, right? Like they have so much experience with cultures, so much respect, and so much awareness. So that's a really cool thing to study if you ever want to look at more stuff. Google cultural awareness. And there's one other thing I want to touch on quick before I pass it over to Barbara. Confirmation bias is a big thing and in critical thinking, and it's something that is coming up now more than ever with all the non-truth stuff that's out there on the internet and the politics and all the news and everything. So confirmation bias means that you are trying to confirm that your idea is right. And what you do end up doing is proving yourself right, even if you're wrong, just because you're searching for your answer and not the other side of the argument. And so you're confirming what you think. And so that's how called confirmation bias. You're biased and confirming your own opinion.
Breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, you're freezing.
Yeah, it's breaking up.
That's not even correct. So does anyone have any questions so far on what I said?
I didn't get the last
That was my
30
embarrassing moment
seconds.
teaching.
The last 30
Oh,
seconds
okay.
you were cutting out a lot, so I didn't get the last part of it.
Yeah.
Say it again.
How far do I go back?
He's talking about confirmation bias. So basically, yeah, so it's my turn. So I'll go into that. Can you hear me okay? Am I being stable? Okay. So I was a teacher for 40 years, as most of you know, and it was 20 years in K-12 art and 20 years at higher ed. So when I taught higher ed, I did a lot of work with critical thinking. And the way that I use this in ACW all the time, because we'll get a new idea and I'll say to Kelly, all right, let's game it out. So if we were to choose A, how might that play out? It might play out A, it might play out B, it might play out C. So when you're a critical thinker, you don't jump to your confirmation bias. Well, in the past, I always did A and that all worked out great. So what I really try to do is have us be mindful. And in my life, I try to do the same thing. Collect the data before you jump to judgment. That's what real critical thinking is. Okay. You don't ever go on what happened before or what you think happened before. You really try to collect all the data and then you try to game it out. So one of the things that I developed, and this is just, I mean, in some ways, I think it's so silly. I'm going to share my screen here now. In higher ed, you're supposed to discover new knowledge. So I don't know how much new knowledge is out there, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot. So this was my big academic claim to fame. And like I said, it seems like sort of silly to me now, but it's fundamental. And if we all embrace this, the world would be a much simpler and better place. So cognitive dissonance occurs when what you believe to be true is in direct conflict with what you see to be true. It happens when you realize that your truth is a truth, not the truth. So much trouble happens because we've been taught you get your opinion and you stick to it and then you come out swinging, right? So every community enjoys many different people with different life journeys, which have brought them to a different belief system. conflict emerges, like I said above, when they think it's the truth. So there are 7 billion people on this planet. It's statistically improbable and possibly breathtaking arrogant to believe that your truth is the truth. I've had some success facilitating events which are designed by leaders in the community with many viewpoints. And this is really what I think the critical thinking, what we should strive for. And particularly in our group, we have so many different people coming from different points of view. I want us to abandon the idea that that there's one truth. So, I mean, that's my idea of critical thinking. Thoughts. I'd love to hear some people that have thoughts on that. Some of you have heard it before. Some of you are sick to death of hearing it. So what do you think? Okay. How about you, Stephen?
I just like asking questions a lot, and I've found that in, we're inundated by all sorts of sensory stimuli. So if we take a moment and try and interpret or ask, why did that happen, or how did that happen? I think it moves us further along that critical thinking spectrum, and you know. Going back to what Kelly said about keeping an open mind, I think once you've come to a conclusion or made a judgment or discerned something, that you've reached an endpoint, and you're no longer as flexible as you could be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anyone else have some thoughts about that?
I would make an argument for the inclusion of intuition as well. When I understand something deeply, it's because critical thinking has taken me so far, and because I'm comfortable with ambiguity. Another idea inserts itself and completes the understanding.
Okay.
And in my cosmology, that is the intuition being handed to me to be able to connect all the dots.
Well, I have this thing I call intuition my spidey sense, Karen. And
Yeah.
so really, what is my spidey sense though? It's this long 75-year history of a bunch of data that I put together, and that gives me a kind of an edge in a spidey sense because I've seen a lot, and maybe it's going to play out similar to what I've seen before. So yeah, but often it doesn't.
That's different. That's different from what I'm speaking about.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I taught a class called Journey to the Source for many years in Australia, which was for people who had writer's and artist block. And my whole argument is flow, that there is a flow that one can step into at any moment, that one doesn't have to wait for inspiration. So the beginning and the end of flow, where it comes from, I don't know, but I'm not talking about any cumulative.
So Cliff.
Oh.
Sorry?
Did someone say Cliff? I'm sorry. I thought someone said Cliff. I thought me.
So Cliff, as a musician, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts, Cliff, as a musician? Yeah.
Well, I think
you.
we need to think.
What are your thoughts on this?
We need to think systemically too. How does everything relate to everything else? And that's the problem mostly with critical thinking for a lot of people, is they think in one category only. They don't say what are the relationships to this area, to that area, and so forth. And so we need to think systemically. I think that's very important. By the way, there's 8.3 billion people.
Yes.
Oh, excuse me.
Yes. We haven't updated the population.
To update my text.
I wish there were over 7 billion.
Well, and there's variables too. I mean, that's
Yeah.
probably another word for the systemic.
Right. All right, Candy, I see you have your hand up. Yep. Candy,
Yeah.
did you have something you want to say?
Yes. I don't feel it. I've always been a grokker where I just wait and wait and wait and read or listen or understand a whole bunch of stuff until it ka-chunks. And it got me in trouble in school. And plus, I see things as around as a whole systematic thinking. And so I never did well in the critical thinking piece because I saw everything in the round. And I thought critical thinking didn't get you where you wanted to go. It got you only in one place when I'd rather be every place all at once.
Interesting. Okay, so oftentimes when I'm, because I talk to people all the time, as you know, in my role as for ACW, people will say to me, well, art is in the eye of the beholder, and nothing torques me like that. Okay, if everything is art, then I guess nothing is art. I mean, that's the logical conclusion of that.
Who said everything is art?
So, let's try to, when people say art is in the eye of the beholder, that means everything is art.
Oh, I don't interpret
Just
it
like
that
beauty is an
So
art.
if everything is art, that means nothing is art, right? So, did any of an answer to that question? Do you have an answer? What is art, Karen?
I mean, doesn't art is in the eye of beholder mean that something may be art to me, but not to you? And
Yeah.
it doesn't mean everything. It just means
Right.
it's about preference or attraction, I would say.
Mhm.
Mhm. So is that the definition?
The
If I
definition
like
of
it, it's
art,
art? If I like it, it's art?
I don't have a definition for art. I would have to think for a long time.
Did anybody come with one they thought was kind of like maybe close?
Can I throw something out there, Barbara?
Sure can.
Okay, art is creating a bridge of meaning to someone, something, or oneself.
Ah,
Hmm.
I like that. Anyone else want to take a step?
And I just wanted to comment too, from the critical thinking and art, I think the biggest problem that people have is ignoring the yes and, or both can be true and I think the problem is that in society we live in black and white and we don't like the gray area. So I think with art and critical thinking, could this banana on the wall be garbage? Yes. And someone had the marketing skills to sell that banana for $1.2 million.
And what does
That's
that
what
mean? What does
Huh?
that mean? And what does that mean? Does that mean that it definitely is art because it made a lot of money?
No,
what-
I'm saying someone had the skills and wherewithal to capitalize on society's need for status, right? There's always something you can make that. Someone wanted enough status to say they bought a $1.2 million banana duct tape on a wall. That could be that meaning. Someone wanted prestige to say, I bought so and so, who's the famous artist who marketed a banana for, you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
someone you can make if you can spin it, you can market just about anything and make it art. Does that mean that I think it's art? No, but someone else could. So I think yes and to that.
Okay.
So Sam, what if somebody thought the form and shape and color of the banana was the most beautiful thing that God ever made? I mean,
That could
I don't
yes
want,
and
I don't want to make an assumption about what that person was thinking.
that
You
that
know,
is true. I agree with you.
I don't
Well,
know.
I agree with you. Like that, yeah, that banana could have been the banana that they stepped on going to art school after, overcoming the worst day in their life and losing a marriage. You know what I mean? I agree. I agree. You could like totally.
Or they could be quoting Duchamp, uh, his toilet bowl that was in the museum for the surrealists, like going off of that.
Mhm. Robin,
That-
what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this? You're on mute,
Who are
Robin.
you
Yeah.
addressing?
Yeah. I was addressing Robin.
Sorry, I had to
She's
step
still
away.
on mute.
I had to step away for a minute. I didn't hear what you even said, so I'll just listen for now. Sorry, I had to step away for a second.
Okay. But who else has some thoughts about this? We're going to talk for about another 3 minutes and then we're going to write for 5 minutes trying to answer this question.
Okay.
Who hasn't spoken
I
yet? Craig?
All right. I'm not seeing art as a thing.
Ah,
Art, it's not an object, it's an activity. Art is how I interpret my world. Art is how I engage with others to communicate and share what I'm feeling, what they're feeling. And when others engage in what I'm doing, I don't just see it as maker and perceiver. We are making art together because the activity is multi-directional. It's not just me sharing, it's them sharing. They're responding. I'm responding to them responding. They're responding to how I'm responding. So in a way, it's an improvisation.
interesting.
That's like
Anyone have some thoughts on that?
Andy wants to speak?
Yes, when I was in Versailles at 17, we had only 45 minutes at a huge building. It was just opened up. And I noticed that there were certain pieces that had a life force in them. And for me, that is art. And so my friend and I, we stood back to back, and I showed them that some had life force. And so we stood back and back in each room and looked for the ones with life force and pointed them out to each other and then went to the next room. Because the one that was art, not just a portrait, kind of went vumpa, vumpa, vumpa. And that's exactly like what my husband said. It brings an energy, a life force, a whole to what's happening. But it was so obvious to us 17-year-olds which ones were art because they kind of went, just they grabbed us. And we didn't have much time, so we had to figure out how to look at the work.
Whoa, Deb?
had your hand up.
I was gonna say, I agree with Craig in that it's a collaborative effort. I take a lot for my project, I take a lot of feedback and I build on that to build a further story. And also I think the protests that are going on are a kind of art too, like a happening. Like the happenings in the
That's a good
70s.
point. Yeah.
People are coming together to get something done, and all of their energy and their heart are coming into it. So that I think of that as being
Right, one more comment. Anybody else got a comment?
And that's the life force.
Yeah.
Anybody that hasn't spoken yet?
Yeah, I'm thinking of the tombstones in Père Lachaise Cemetery in Paris and how they are so beautifully artful. How a stone, which is something we don't consider living, can be, for me, art. It's just such an individual thing, you know.
Oh, Denise, did you want to add?
Sure. My definition of art is something that was created by a living being. So I know some people are going to disagree with me on this one, but I think AI is not art because that's just recycling what other people have done. So like I'm calling it living beings because I have seen like dogs painting with a brush in their mouth or like elephants that could paint with their tusk. They're all making art and they're doing beautiful jobs. So I don't think you have to be human, but you have to be alive. So no AI does not count for art. But living beings, as long as it's coming from you, you're imagining it, you're creating it, you have to have some kind of creativity, then it's art.
All right.
How about a galaxy?
About what?
A galaxy.
A galaxy.
Galaxies are some of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life.
Okay.
And I don't have a paintbrush that large, but to me, that's art.
Okay.
Not creative.
All right, we've heard some really,
And
yep, we've heard some interesting ideas created by a living being. not an object, an activity, yes, and bridge of meaning. I'd like us to take 5 minutes and make an effort to answer this question.
With an open mind.
With an open mind, yes. All right. So it is 6:35 right now. So at 6:40, I'm going to have you all share. So we're thinking of not a paragraph. We're thinking of just a sentence.
Or a poem or whatever, however you want to compile your thoughts.
What is the question? What is art?
Yep. Answer the question, what is art? And I want to compile these and we'll put them on the website.
You can email later if you would like to share yours too. But
One more minute. Are we ready?
Almost.
that was a quick turnaround, so.
Who's ready to read?
I can read mine.
Go ahead, Marie.
Okay. I borrowed from all the previous discussions, so I hope that's okay, but it made sense to me. I'm saying my sentence is
Art is a self-expression activity from a living being, sometimes shared with others who perceive it through their own experiences.
Whoa. All right.
Nice.
Nice. Cliff.
Well, art stems from nature in all its dimensions, including forms, contents, patterns, colors, relationships, compositions, as well as an individual's response when creating or observing a subject. Nature's patterns are visible everywhere in snowflakes, ABA form for trees, and so forth. And beauty is in terms of quality and expressing that quality that is observed.
Very nice. I like that. Deb.
Okay, art is a living autonomous phenomenon. It can exist as a collective human energy, feeling, or passion, but it exists in its own right and it's powerful in its own legitimacy and existence.
Wow, we've got some intellectuals in the group. Cool.
Well,
Karen?
we almost went to grad school.
Oh, yeah. Karen.
We learned it there.
You say me?
Yeah.
That which moves one or many.
Ah, simple but elegant.
Succinct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Candy.
A moving force brings life into being. Life, emotional, wonder, connection through space sends ripples flowing across the universe.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Let's see who, Lily.
Yes, hi. Art exists in an ecosystem and as such can be symbiotic, whole, or part of the whole of our existence, entirely in relationship.
Wow. I love that. Well done,
I
Craig.
think Cliff said something
Go ahead.
similarly.
Yeah.
It was, there were some, there's some parallels there. Yeah. Craig.
Art is a creative expression, engaging beings in an exchange of shared experience.
Ooh, okay. Nice. Robin.
Art is an expression of one's soul. It can be a scribble or a masterpiece of realism. Art is expression of your mindset, how you view the moment, the cycle of life, the world. I believe everyone is an artist. Some people think in words. I'm a visual thinker. I think in image and imagination.
Well done. Well done. Kelly?
Something created, something thought, something conceived, something thought-provoking or emotion-provoking, something shared, something experienced, something that vanishes, or something that lasts.
Great. Leo.
Okay. Art is a language. It only exists when it has been received by another living being. The way it is received, heard or seen or experienced is going to be different every time it is experienced, even when it is experienced by the same person.
That is true. Yeah. Stephen.
Art starts with intentional energy, creating a result being something that can be shared and experienced.
Intentional.
Yeah, I like that. Sam.
Soul alchemy, essence of the spirit come alive, breathing life into creation. We are art.
Nice. So me
Did
being
we miss anyone? Did you go?
Yeah, me. Being a simple country girl from Maine, I got a simple response here. Art transforms the viewer. Okay, Sam, since you're going to be putting
I got
these
one
on.
too.
Oh, sorry, Denise.
Okay, I said art is created by living beings from a desire to share their vision of how the world looks through their eyes and perspective and what is important to them. Art tells the story of what is in their heart and mind.
Very nice. Sam, would you be willing, since you're putting into the YouTube to transcribe these and send them to me text? Sam?
Yes.
Thank you. We'll compensate for that, of course. So summary comments, anybody? I thought that, I mean, this is like I told you, Plato asked this question 2,000 years ago, and I'm not sure anybody has satisfactorily answered it. But I thought this was a pretty dynamic discussion, and I'm excited to see these all written together and look at these together, because I think there was some really important insights. Anyone else have any thoughts?
I do. I was in the middle of thinking through mine, and when I was listening to Marie, I was thinking to myself, well, does it have to involve somebody else? Is it art if it's just made by the person for their own purpose?
I agree with that. Does it have to be somebody else? Does it have to be somebody else?
And
so if a tree falls in a forest and there's no one there to hear it, does it make a sound?
Where I was going with this was wondering, I mean, if it doesn't have to be an object that is shared, is it something that if you're making it just for yourself and you're the only one that ever sees or hears it, it is affecting you. And therefore, it is affecting your relationships as you go out and interact with people out in the world. So that could be the result of the art and the sharing component of it.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. I think of that guy in Chicago who did this whole story. He went home from work every night and made a story on his wall. And it wasn't discovered until he died. So nobody else knew about it. And that kind of relates to Craig's question.
Anybody else have any summary comments or thoughts?
I have a notion. When the tiles were put up in the park, Gail Warner, who did the tile artist, my dog sat down in front of a squirrel and just stared at it. She just stared at it. And I heard Gail laughing, and she says, I never had anybody of another species really get into my work.
That's great. So what are your thoughts about how we should share this? We're going to put it on Kelly's website, of course, but how should we share it? We can point to it in an article in our newsletter. Is there another way the outcomes? I want you to think about it and email Kelly if you get an idea of how you think this would be helpful to share with our greater community.
So something that I do on my websites is I have a slideshow. Like it's just an automatic sequence of slides of different things. And maybe each one of these is a slide. It's up there for 5 or 7 seconds, flips to the next one, flips to the next one, and then just cycles. And you can add to it as well.
I like that idea. Great. Anything else?
It should have pictures to it.
Go for it. Go for it.
Yep, Sam has requested if you can drop yours in the chat, that'd be great. But if not, email is fine, or which you might be able to get it from the transcription or the recording. If anyone else has any other questions, if we have a few minutes. So one of our ideas when we kind of started this was people were sharing what piece of art, it could be a movie, a music, book, visual art, whatever, would be used as our moral guidance, our ways to live on this planet. Is there anything that stands out to you as the one piece of art that would be how we should live?
Well, the Desiderata is kind of made that way. You know that?
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
That is a good question.
It is a good question.
I mean, we're we're creating something right now. Let me show it to you. Jill Collins has taken a leadership role on this. So we're trying to, I've been having a ethical dilemma myself on what role can ACW play in what's going on in the world. Right now, we're a nonprofit. We're not supposed to do anything that looks partisan, okay? But I wanted to show some examples of how art can change the world. So we started collecting exemplars of that. So Jillian sent me this, and it's a poster she made for obvious reasons. But I don't dare to have a whole collection of protest posters because that's partisan, right? So what we decided to do was to start collecting what art changed the world. Here's Diego Rivera's National Palace. Here's some music written by Dave. Here's our whistle project, which, by the way, has distributed more than 1 million whistles now.
Wow.
Here's a company, Streets of Minneapolis, Springsteen's. So you can see Guernica. So what do you have any ideas?
This is great.
I mean, this is kind of what we're talking about, right? Transformation you can think of.
Goya had a set of etchings that were talking about the corruption of the time.